Hello guys, welcome back. Recently I've been doing a lot of research and looking up stories of people who have dated someone with bipolar disorder. And as you know, I do have bipolar, and right now I am dating someone, so I asked for his input on what he would do in the situations that I read about and what he would have done differently. So today I'm going to be talking about one particular story that I read on Reddit. I will link the two posts that this guy made in the description below if you'd like to read the whole story. I'm just going to give the general idea of what he did and what he did well and what he should have done differently, and what my boyfriend also said about it. So basically, these two were in their mid-20s. They got together over the COVID. This guy was very committed from the beginning. He heard about her problems with suicide and mental health, and he decided that it would be okay if they could communicate well and they could get through this. So that's the first thing that he did right, I think, is communication. Like being committed to someone and knowing that communication is key. As time went on, things were really good, and she was taking her meds and going to see a therapist. But there came a point where she stopped taking meds, and I don't think she was going to her therapist, or at least he didn't think so. And he suspected it was because she couldn't afford it because she didn't have insurance. So that's when things started to go downhill, he noticed. And she would start fights whenever she was hypomanic about little things, and it would basically always end up in her saying, "This is done, I don't want to be with you anymore," and she would block him. The first time this happened, he was really kind of shocked, and he was like, "What do I do?" And he waited. I think this is pretty common in a lot of relationships with bipolar disorder. The person with bipolar ends up trying to cut them off and just kind of distance themselves. I don't know why this is. I personally have always been against like purely cutting someone off. So I don't know the reason behind it. But when this happened to him, he waited, and he ended up having to resort to emailing her. And what he did was got her back onto the phone and got her to unblock his number, and they called, and he was able to get through to her. She apologized, she realized she did something wrong, and things went on. But the problem with this was it happened over and over again. She would always bring up something really little to fight about, and then she would block him, and the same thing happened. He would email, get her back on the phone. That was like his go-to. Getting her on a phone call to calm her down and make her see things more clearly was the key to getting them back together. And I feel like that was a really good thing that he did. He figured out how to get her to communicate and how to resolve things. And I think that's really important in a relationship, even for people without bipolar disorder. Knowing how to communicate, and after a fight, knowing how to bring it back together. I don't know how many times it happened to him, but time and time again, she would start fights and he would have to go and fix things. I think the biggest problem with what he did, and my boyfriend said this too, was he was being reactive. He was trying to treat the symptoms instead of the causes. What he should have done in this situation was try to get her to take her meds and see her therapist, and using tough love if he had to. I think some people with bipolar disorder just need someone to clamp down on them and say, this is what you have to do. The big problem with that is if the person with bipolar isn't committed to their own health. I think that is one of the points that is important to make. If a person doesn't want to help themselves, there is nothing you can do. And I think that is when you have to realize it's time to back away, because staying will only hurt you. Things won't get better if they're not helping themselves. Basically, what this situation was is like this guy was doing everything he could to make it work with a girl who couldn't do the same and wouldn't do the same due to her mental health disorder. And he can't stop living his life just because some girl that he likes is making destructive decisions. There's only so much he could do, and sometimes the person, anybody, makes destructive decisions without their significant other. This transcends only dating someone with bipolar disorder. There are people out there who make decisions that their partner doesn't like and that are irresponsible and destructive, and it's hard to be with someone who makes those types of decisions and won't listen to you when you say these are not good for you, you should stop. So if a partner doesn't care about helping themselves and makes destructive decisions on their own, that is a big sign that it's over and that you should break up with them. One other thing that my boyfriend said was he would continue to try as long as there was a glimmer of hope. And I think that was one of the things that this guy did well, is he kept trying, knowing that every time he could get her into a phone call, it would work out. These two ended up not being together, and this was because something changed in the whole situation. Something happened, and basically there came a point where she said, I can't do this anymore, don't contact me, I'm going to change my number if you contact me. And of course, he tried to do the same thing he always did. He emailed her. But this time, it was different. She got even angrier when he did the same thing that he did before. It just didn't work. And that's when he realized that he should just stop, that he shouldn't keep trying. And that's when he decided he was going 100% no contact and he was leaving her alone. So that situation, I think, is when the glimmer of hope disappeared. There was no hope for him. There was no way that he could get her back after that, because what had worked before wasn't working anymore. This is a very representative story. A lot of stories that I read on Reddit and other places tend to have the person with bipolar disorder bouncing back and forth, and they know that they want to be in a relationship, but somehow they always end up cutting out the other person or starting a fight, and they want to make it work deep inside, but there's something in them that just doesn't allow it to happen. I guess the biggest takeaway from this whole story is, one, know that communication is key, that being able to have feelings out in the open and know how to fix problems as they occur, that is the biggest thing that will keep you two together. But that's not everything that you have to do, especially with someone with bipolar. You have to make sure that they're taking care of themselves and that they are going to stay committed to it, because things will never work out if the person decides to stop caring about their mental health and stops doing the things that helped them in the past. So this means that they should be taking their meds if it had worked for them, and seeing a therapist, psychiatrist, basically getting the help they need to help manage themselves. Because without that, I feel like people with bipolar disorder are never really successful. They at least need, at some point in their life, therapy to know how to deal with these different symptoms, and also medications to kind of help them through the process of coping with their symptoms. So that's the biggest thing that this guy didn't do, is he wasn't hands-on with the healing. He didn't try to show her that what she really needed to do to make this successful was get help for herself. And this goes for someone who does have bipolar disorder isn't on the other person to try to get you to do these things. As a person with bipolar disorder, you have to make sure that you are taking your meds, seeking therapy, keeping yourself accountable with your daily decisions. And one other big thing is not consume alcohol. I think very little amounts is okay, but the second it starts becoming a regular thing or you start using it to help your mood is when things get worse. So as a partner of someone with bipolar disorder, helping them keep on top of that, reminding them this is what you should be doing. Remember that last time you let this slide, bad things happened. Small things like that go a long way with someone's physical and mental well-being. This goes for honestly any relationship, knowing what your partner needs to be well and knowing what's best for your relationship. And of course, through all of this, you need to be considering your own mental health and well-being too. In the process of trying to keep your relationship together, it's so important for you to be taking care of yourself as well. So that's it for today's video. I think I will be doing some more searching on different stories to reflect on other people's experiences again. Please like this video if you would like to see more content like this. Please subscribe as well if you would like to hear more stories, and I will see you guys next time.